Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode. Your favorite North Carolina news page, WRAL. If you haven't, subscribe. You're going to get content you haven't gotten anywhere else. We're here with Paul Spetch. We're going to talk about involuntary commitment here. We're still dealing with the ripple effects of a breaking news story that happened a couple weeks ago. Ryan Camacho, 36, he was charged with the murder of Zoe Welsh, a beloved teacher in the community. He had previously had a long history of mental health issues, also previously diagnosed with schizophrenia, according to court documents obtained by WRL News. And we're looking now at the involuntary commitment procedures and things that happen when, this guy had a track record. He's been in and out of jail for a while. There are things that could been done to prevent this. What did you learn in the legislature today?
Right. So today was the third meeting of this House committee that is titled Involuntary Commitment and Public Safety Committee. It's like a House select committee. And they made it specifically, it seems, to sort of address cases like this, to fix loopholes in the system that are existing. Now, it was this committee first started last November after they passed Arena's law. And they've had multiple experts come talk about ways you can improve the system, ways that you can improve involuntary commitment, things that could be fixed with Arena's law. That was a set of new laws passed last year after the stabbing death of that woman in Charlotte. Mm-hmm. And there's some tweaks that hospitals and sheriffs say could be made. Mainly the Hospital Association or the Healthcare Association. Mm-hmm. Today, we heard testimony from people talking about outpatient commitments. Yeah. And so we've got to go over some definitions here. Often, when it comes to involuntary commitments, that's when someone is under a court order. They must be taken to a psychiatric facility. Mm-hmm. The word involuntary implies they don't have a choice in it anymore.
Do not have a choice. They come get you.
Right. The problem with that, that people have said, is often, obviously they don't want to do it, but North Carolina doesn't have enough beds for people who need this treatment. Mm-hmm. They get backed up. Well, what happens when they get backed up? Well, some of these people get stuck in emergency rooms, in emergency departments. And so that causes a backlog, and it's also just not good for the hospitals and the communities and things like that. So today we heard presentations on what outpatient commitment looks like. Now, that's where a judge can issue an order, and he says, basically, you can go back into the community only if you agree to these conditions, where you take the medications that are recommended, and you undergo counseling, and various other things. And today we heard that that's being done in some cases in North Carolina, but that there are flaws in that system too. For instance, we heard from the chief psychiatrist of the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. She's over all the state psychiatric facilities. She's the chief medical officer for them. Mm-hmm. She says, you can use outpatient commitments. Those are typically for a small group of people. It's people who may have a mental illness but not know it, and would be okay if they're back on their meds, right? But they need some oversight in doing that. They don't need to be involuntarily committed. They don't need to go to a facility and, be bound by walls. There's a limited number of people who could still be okay in the community. She says, however, that North Carolina's current laws don't have enough teeth in the cases where these people who do go in the community don't listen to the judge's orders. She said right now they don't really have a strong mechanism for forcing people to comply with the judge's orders. It's basically like, if you don't listen, then we could have cops come pick you up. Yeah. But there needs to be more explicit language in the law where they say, if you don't follow the judge's orders under an outpatient order, then you will be involuntarily committed and taken to a facility against your will. And right now, she says that mechanism's just not there.
So, and then also with Ryan Camacho's case, I totally understand her stance, because Ryan Camacho, he was homeless.
Yeah.
it's hard to enforce laws to someone you don't know where he's at.
One thing we heard so much today was from different people the phrase falling through the cracks. We heard that from a Duke psychiatrist. We heard it from DHHS. We heard it from lawmakers. We heard it from a woman whose son has problems with mental health, who drove from the coast just because she's interested in seeing how the state's going to deal with this.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And they talk about how there's a certain population, Ryan Camacho included, that just bounces between homelessness, mental facilities, and jail. And lawmakers are trying to figure out how to make sure that nothing bad happens when it'd be great to get treatment. Sometimes these people refuse it. So how else can they prevent major events of violence from happening? They're trying to figure that out.
Yeah, and then you're sitting there as like, okay, you get a guy, avoids treatment. Okay, let's say this person is homeless. You can't go out there. You don't know where he's at to find him, right? And then he avoids treatment because he feels like, oh, it's a conspiracy against me or things like that. You really step into their world. Okay, we just throw him in jail?
What do you do? Yeah,
what do you do? That doesn't solve anything.
It's you throw him in jail or you take him to an involuntary a psychiatric facility. But studies have shown basically that if someone's not willing to take their meds and they're not open to receiving help, they're probably not going to get better. You can't just force feed them, their medications under the law. They have certain rights still.
Yes.
And so I think they're all racking their brains to see how they can address more cases like the Carlos Brown, the man charged in Charlotte with Irina Zarutska's death, and Ryan Camacho, who I think you mentioned. He was facing breaking and entering charges last year, and the prosecutors wanted him to undergo an involuntary commitment, and the judge denied that for whatever reason. Now, we've reached out to that judge, and he hasn't gotten back to us, hasn't commented publicly on why he made that decision, but it's puzzled a lot of people. So there are Wake County lawmakers, one Aaron Perret and Mike Sheetzelt. Perret is from Holly Springs, and Sheetzelt is from Wake Forest, who wrote a letter to this committee and said, hey, you figure out why this guy didn't qualify for involuntary commitment. Why were his charges dismissed, and was he let out, and how did we get here? And so the committee members said today they're going to look into that. They don't know when their findings will come out, but they'll do it.
This is a theme. I'm a big fan of college football, and one of the big complaints about college football is the refs are such a big part of the game, but they're the only people who don't have to talk to the media afterwards on their decision making. Asking judge, hey, why this decision making? Walk me through. I think it'll help a lot of the public be at ease and understand how we got to this decision, and hopefully get some responsibility on why this man was free when he was arrested like over 20 times over the course. Like, okay, why didn't we see this guy has an issue? How can we help him?
Right.
So let's talk a little bit more about today. People are acknowledging the problem. Hopefully we're getting on one accord with the problem. Did we see a lot of long-term solutions or a lot of Band-Aids?
I think right now the legislature is looking for Band-Aids.
Okay.
Because as you may or may not know, in North Carolina, lawmakers have not passed like a full state budget. Okay. The House and the Senate are at odds. Now, they're both controlled by Republicans, but they disagree on how to move forward. So we're sort of stuck at the same spending levels as last fiscal year. So this committee can't come in and say like, oh, well, we want to spend $500 million more on mental health facilities and, judicial things and this or that. It would fall on deaf ears. There are other priorities and things in the way of that. So what they've been doing is hearing ideas for maybe just how to tweak the law to give hospitals or law enforcement or judges more and better options for sending some of these people with mental illness to the place they need to be.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I understand the approach with that because these mental health hospitals are not cheap. No. You got to build them, right? They got to be in central locations. We're talking about there's still a lot of hospital deserts and medical deserts, okay? And then there's so many people moving to North Carolina on top of that. You got to staff it.
Well, and there, like you said, that's a big problem. Is right now in our prisons, for example, they've had for years trouble hiring people to just work as corrections officers because the starting salary in North Carolina is too low. Now, if let's say you wanted to build a new psychiatric facility from scratch to deal with people who might have mental illness and prone to criminal activity, that sounds like you can't pay them $30K. You can go make $30K at Walmart, bagging groceries and not have to face someone who may have violent tendencies or attack you or be aggressive, right?
Exactly.
So that's enough. Like you hit the nail on the head. Like staffing and paying those people is another big obstacle.
Exactly. So that $500 million goes by quick, especially when if you're trying to invest in resources. I know there's a nursing shortage. Trying to invest in nursing, so we see the rock go into the puddle. We see the ripple effects, and hopefully we get some more long-term solutions once this budget is passed, and we get some things set in stone.
They said that they hope to produce a report in the next few months. If I remember, the chairman of this committee, one of the co-chairs, said he thought it might be before summer, so sometime this spring, with a list of recommendations of things they could change.
Okay.
That and in government and politics, that'd be a pretty quick turnaround. So if they do that, I mean, bravo. If they can get some of those things passed, I wouldn't get my hopes up. But, days like today, getting more information on outpatient commitments, and before that, getting information on how mental evaluations are conducted and continuing to gather this feedback from the stakeholders, the hospitals, the psychiatrists, and things like that, will hopefully help inform them as they reform the laws here and there.
Okay. Well, good news today. A lot of voices were heard.
Yeah.
A lot of qualified voices were heard, and hopefully we get some great solutions. What else?
I was going to say, this is one of those areas that I've seen where it does not appear to be divided among party lines. You see a lot down at the Capitol that's like, well, Republicans feel this way, Democrats feel this way. Now, when it comes to spending, Democrats might be more prone to spending on mental health issues. But in this committee, at least, all of them appear to be pretty united and just trying to tweak the laws to help just fix these loopholes.
Yeah, and I'll even go as far as say, like, I understand there's some conspiracy theories out there. I'm pretty sure everybody at the legislature wants law and order.
Yeah.
They want things to have a system. They want people to get the help. If you see someone, there should be a system for people to get help. So I'm glad to hear that this is a bipartisan attack on this issue as well. So is there any other things about this story that we're missing?
Just that, it certainly seemed – I wouldn't – even when they do tweak the laws, one takeaway from just observing some of these psychiatrists and even people in the law enforcement community – they still think that, regardless of what they do, they can't prevent violence 100% of the time.
Yeah.
These cases that we've seen in Raleigh and Charlotte bring attention to it, and they're going to try their best to fix it. But I don't think that'll eliminate the horrific stories that we see here and there. Wow, that was a terrible negative note to end on, but that's one sort of thing that's in the back of their minds as they go forward.
I can imagine if I was in an officer's shoes and I've never done law enforcement, I think they need some more options here.
Yeah.
You see a guy in downtown Raleigh, he obviously needs help, and you see the probabilities in your head, this guy may do something. Where can I take him?
Right.
And shelters are overrun. Mental health facilities are overrun. Jails are overrun. Where can we take them? Police officers, they need more options out there on the front line. So I totally get it. So it's not ending on a negative note. It's just people need more
Well,
options.
we try to shoot straight here, especially here at WRAL and in this podcast, and not to get people's hopes up, but just, tell them the facts and the context too.
Yeah, there we go. Well, thank you so much for your time today. And again, guys, you guys can catch this report on WRAL.com. We're recording this. It is the 14th of January. It should be up by now, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'll link the web story on this. If you haven't, like and subscribe and follow for more content that you're not going to get anywhere else.